Hello students, I am Nidhi Markale. Today we are going to start a new chapter in science, chapter number 6, tissues. So students, let us recall some important things like all living organisms are made up of cells we have discussed in last chapter. In unicellular organisms, a single cell performs all basic functions. For example, in amoeba, a single cell carries out movement, intake of food, and respiratory gases, even respiration and excretion also. But in multicellular organisms, there are millions of cells. Most of these cells are specialized to carry out a few functions. Each specialized function is taken up by a different group of cells, since these cells carry out only a particular function. So they do it very efficiently. In human beings, muscle cells contract and relax to cause movement. Nerve cells carry messages, while blood flows to transport oxygen, food, hormones, and waste material, all so on. In plants, vascular tissues conduct food and water from one part of the plant to other parts. So, multicellular organisms show division of labor, and cells specializing in one function are often grouped together in the body. And these means that a particular function is carried out by a cluster of cells at a definite place in the body, and these cluster of cells called a tissue, and it is arranged and designed so as to give the highest possible efficiency of the function. Blood, phloem, and muscles are examples of tissues. A group of cells that are similar in structure and or work together to achieve a particular function forms a tissue. This is the basic definition of tissues. Let us discuss more. Now, one question is there, are plants and animals made up of same types of tissues? Let us discuss. There are noticeable differences between the two, plants and animal tissues. Actually, plants are stationary, they don't move. Most of the tissues they have are supportive, which provides them with structural strength. Most of these tissues are dead, since dead cells can provide mechanical strength as easily as live ones and need less maintenance. So, most of the cells in plants are dead, tissues are dead. Now, animals, on the other hand, move around in search of food, mats, and shelter. They consume more energy as compared to plants. Most of the tissues they contain are living. Another difference between animals and plants is in the pattern of growth. The growth is in plants is limited to certain regions, while this is not so in animals. There are some tissues in plants that divides throughout their life. These tissues are localized in certain regions. Based on the dividing capacity of the tissues, various plant tissues can be classified as growing or meristematic tissue and permanent tissues. Cell growth in animals is more uniform, so there is no such demarcation of dividing and non dividing regions in animals. Next, the structural organization of organs and organ systems is far more specialized and localized in complex animals than even in very complex plants. So, this fundamental difference reflects the different modes of life pursued by these two major groups of organisms, particularly in their different feeding methods. Also, they are differently adapted for a sedentary existence on one hand, plants, and active locomotion on other, that is animals, contributing to these difference in organ system design. It is with reference to these complex animal and plant bodies that we will now talk about the concept of tissues in more detailed way. So, if we summarize this topic, we can say that plant tissues and animal tissues are different because plants are stationary while animals are moving. Plants have certain tissues that divide throughout their life while animals not. Now, let us start with plant tissues. So, plant tissues, the very first point, meristematic tissues. To understand this, let us have an activity. Activity 6.1. Take two glass jars, and fill them with water. Now take two onion bulbs and place one on each jar as shown in the figure. Now observe the growth of roots in both the bulbs for few days. Measure the length of the roots on day 1, 2, 3, etc. And on 4th day, cut the root tips of the onion bulb in the jar 2 by about 1 centimeter. After this, observe the growth of roots in both the jars and measure their lengths each day for 5 more days and record the observations. Now, from the above observation, let us discuss. There is one question: which of the two onions has longer roots and why? Definitely, the onion from jar 1 has longer roots. The root tips of onion from jar 1 are intact. Therefore, they keep on growing. Now, the next question: do the roots continue growing even after we have removed their tips? Actually, roots of onion from jar 2 do not grow further after cutting off their tips. So, why would the tips stop growing in jar 2 after we cut them? Actually, when the tips of the roots are cut off, their apical meristem is lost, and this is the only tissue which is responsible for the growth of the plants. When it is not there, the growth halts. Meristematic tissue is responsible for the growth of plants. It is also known as dividing tissue. Initially, they are meristematic but alter with the growth. They mature and differentiate to produce other tissues. It has dense cytoplasm and thin cellulose walls. Nuclei are prominent, vacuoles are absent here. So, it is located in the specific regions of the plants. Depending upon this region, meristematic tissues are subdivided into following categories. The very first, apical meristem, present at the tips of the roots and stems, increases the length of the roots and stems. The next one, lateral meristem, present on the lateral sides, increases girth of the stem and roots, and it is also known as cambium. And the last one, intercalary meristem, present at the base of the leaves or internodes on twigs. So, this is the meristematic tissues divided in three small parts. So, students, I hope you understood the initial part of this chapter, actually, the meaning of tissues, and including that plant tissues. Thank you.